Hello. Now, the Institute for Economic Justice says it hopes President Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't pit key social economic interventions against each other. The Institute says it has identified some key interventions like job creation and the extension of social grants, which are all equally important. Let's speak more about this with the Institute's Dr. Basani Baloyi. Dr. Baloyi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Exactly what do you mean as the Institute when you say you don't want the President to pit key social economic interventions against each other?
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having us. What we mean by that, I mean, there has been this discussion around jobs versus grants, right? Whether or not if we are doing grants, if we are implementing grants, prioritizing grants, then we are basically saying that we are ignoring the plight of jobs. What we are saying is that, you know, the structural nature of South Africa's unemployment requires a broad range of micro and macroeconomic interventions to create and also to retain jobs, which must be implemented immediately. However, these interventions are constrained by budget cuts, and they are unlikely to have an impact in the short term. In the meantime, urgent interventions could help to manage, you know, this unfolding social crisis, and these urgent ones are being blocked by Treasury. So the Institute has recommends a comprehensive development strategy where we, as you're saying, we should extend and improve the COVID SRD grant. And the development pathways towards a universal basic income grant that should be prioritized in this year's budget. And for job creation, government must increase allocations to the presidential employment stimulus. And if job creation is a priority, then the PES must be expanded and the balance of the 100 billion rand for job creation should be inserted into the MTEF. And for job retention, we are saying that there should be a wage support that needs to be extended in the form of the TERS.
Yeah.
So we are not seeing these as contradictory. We are seeing these as complementary, as a way of reinforcing livelihoods for South Africans that need them.
Yeah, you're seeing them as interdependent levers for improving livelihoods to some degree. What's your view, Dr. Baloyi, about the growing calls for a basic income grant, universal basic income grant that sits at the right threshold in terms of the poverty line in the country today?
Well, we are hoping that today is a big day, and it's a day for big. And what we are saying is that, you know, that we are arguing for a phased-in approach that ensures that government that there's enough state capacity to implement a big. So we are saying that, you know, the SRD needs to be extended at the poverty line to an amount of 624 rands, and it would have a gross cost of around 250 billion rand per year. But a universal basic income grant would cost less than its budgeted amount if we assume 60 to 80% uptake, and right. And so what we are saying there is that, you know, there is no realistic short-term prospect of reversing high levels of hunger and unemployment. And without state intervention in the form of income support for adults, millions of people are currently falling through the cracks. And so there can be valuable synergies between the UIB and other interventions to promote job creation and local economic development. And the UBI is not promoted, obviously, as a silver bullet. The cost of inaction in the face of basically the current crisis is potentially much higher than the cost of action. And there is an enormous social and economic cost of poverty and inequality and hunger, which was basically demonstrated by the July unrest and the price to social stability as well as to businesses. Therefore, we see a UIB, a universal basic income grant, as important and fundamental to the realization of socioeconomic rights in this country. And there are enormous amounts of benefits that we have identified, at least the research has identified, some of which support, jobs seeking. They stimulate. It stimulates local economies, as the poor tend to spend a greater percentage of income and do so locally. So they spend locally, and it supports nutrition and health.
Yeah. After all, Dr. Baloyi, our GDP, the biggest slice of our GDP is consumption. So with cash in hand, you are able to spend it on your daily needs, things that you require for yourself. So that cash in hand would become very handy. But we'll have to wait and see what he's going to say about that. And some people are expecting that it's down the line. It's going to happen over time. As you say, it could be a gradual implementation. We'll have to wait and find out. But in your statement, while I have you, Dr. Baloyi, you are saying, as the IEJ, you are hoping that the president will articulate, and I'm reading here, quote, a bold agenda for government, an agenda that is responsive to this interlinked triple challenge of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. What does bold look like?
Well, there are several things what bold look like. The first I've mentioned, which is the implementation of the universal basic income grant. I think that would be a bold statement or a bold action by government. Another would be to maintain employment through reinstating wage support, right? We are seeing a number of retrenchments that have been happening. Clover workers, for instance, have been on strike over retrenchments, and certainly the maintenance and reinstatement of wage support via the temporary employment relief scheme would be something that is extremely welcome. Another is the government must increase funding.
We're going to have to stop there. Sorry, we need to go back live to Cape Town. That's the Institute for Economic Justice's Dr. Basani Baloyi.